horse is already waiting. Its breath drifts into the cold morning air in pale clouds that disappear almost as quickly as they appear. Beyond it, the grasslands stretch farther than your eyes can follow. The horizon seems less like a line and more like a promise. Somewhere beyond that distant edge are rivers, mountains, forests, towns, and roads you have never seen. And today, for the first time, they are all part of your path. The camp is still quiet. A few cooking fires smoulder low in the grey dawn. Somewhere nearby, another horse stamps a hoof against the frozen ground. Leather creaks softly. A dog lifts its head, watches for a moment, then settles again. The world feels suspended between night and day. You pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders. The air carries the smell of grass damp with dew. Smoke drifts lazily from the last glowing embers of a fire. Somewhere in the distance, a lark begins its morning song. Then footsteps approach. An official emerges from one of the tents. He carries something small, something carefully wrapped. Without many words, he places it into your hands. A message, sealed, protected, important enough to be carried across vast distances, important enough that fresh horses will be waiting for you, important enough that roads, stations, and strangers will all play their small part in helping it move across the empire. You glance at the seal. You do not know what the message says. You are not meant to know. That is not your duty. Your duty is simpler, and perhaps heavier. You must carry it. You must keep it safe. You must keep moving. The words inside belong to other people. Yet for a little while, their fate rides beside you. The official nods once. Nothing more needs to be said. You secure the message carefully against your side. You check the straps, check them again. Then a third time. Already you feel the strange responsibility settling onto your shoulders. The message weighs almost nothing, yet it feels heavier than your pack, heavier than your bow, heavier than the saddle beneath you. Because unlike those things, this small package carries consequences you cannot see. A decision, a request, news, orders, perhaps good news, perhaps terrible news, perhaps something that will change a distant city forever. You'll probably never know. The mystery travels with you. You place one boot into the stirrup, swing into the saddle. The horse shifts beneath you, strong, restless, ready. Ahead, the grasslands glow softly beneath the first light of morning. Behind you, the camp begins to wake. A child runs between tents. A woman shakes out a blanket. Several riders prepare their own journeys. For a moment, you simply sit and look. The morning feels enormous. The sky feels even larger. You wonder how many roads lie ahead, how many faces you will see, how many nights you will spend sleeping beneath unfamiliar stars. Then the horse begins moving, slowly at first. A steady walk through grass wet with dew. The camp fades behind you. The sounds grow quieter. Soon there is only the rhythm of hooves, the soft whisper of wind, and the endless open land. The first hours pass peacefully. Morning sunlight spreads across the plains. The cold begins to lift. Golden light brushes across the rolling grasslands. Small herds graze in the distance. Wild birds rise suddenly from hidden places among the tall grass. The world seems almost empty, yet you know it is not. Roads cross these lands, not always visible, not always marked, but they exist. Invisible threads connecting places separated by unimaginable distances. Villages, towns, markets, rivers, mountains. People who may never meet each other, and messages travelling between them. Messages like yours. The horse settles into a comfortable pace. The steady movement becomes almost hypnotic. Hooves, breathing, wind. Hooves, breathing, wind. The rhythm begins to shape the day. By mid-morning, the sun climbs higher. The dew disappears. Warmth spreads across the plains. You pass another rider heading in the opposite direction. The exchange lasts only a moment, a nod, a glance. Then both of you continue, each carrying your own destination, your own responsibilities, your own piece of a larger network stretching across land so vast that few people ever see more than a small part of it. The rider quickly becomes a distant figure, then vanishes entirely. The grasslands swallow him, as they will eventually swallow you. You continue onward. Hours pass. Clouds drift overhead. Shadows move across the earth. The landscape changes slowly, not through dramatic transformations, but through countless small details. A shallow stream appears, then disappears behind you. A cluster of trees rises from the plain, then falls away. A ridge offers a wider view of the horizon, then another valley unfolds beyond it. Travel teaches patience. Nothing arrives quickly. The world reveals itself one piece at a time. Near midday, you stop briefly beside a small stream. The horse drinks. You refill a water skin. The cool water runs over your fingers. For a few moments you simply listen. The gentle current, the breeze through grass, the distant cry of a hawk. There are no crowds here, no city noise, only space, endless space, and silence. The message remains secure. You check it again, a habit already forming. You smile slightly. Perhaps every messenger does the same. Perhaps every rider who carries something important feels compelled to confirm over and over that it remains exactly where it should be. You mount again. The journey continues. The afternoon stretches ahead. The land becomes flatter. The sky somehow larger. Cloud shadows drift slowly across the plains like giant ships crossing an invisible sea. The horse's mane moves gently in the wind. Dust rises beneath its hooves. The road remains mostly unwritten. No stone markers, no paved surface, only pathways worn gradually into the earth by countless travelers before you. Merchants, herders, officials, messengers, each leaving traces, each following traces left by others. The empire exists in many forms, in settlements, in markets, in distant capitals. But out here, it exists in movement, in travelers crossing the land, in horses carrying riders, in messages moving from one horizon to another. As afternoon softens toward evening, the light begins to change. The harsh brightness fades. Golden colors return. The grasslands glow. The sky deepens into shades of amber and blue. The air cools once more. Ahead, far in the distance, something appears. At first it seems like a mirage, then gradually takes shape. Buildings, small, simple, waiting. A relay station, your first. A place built for travelers like you, for messengers, for movement, for continuity. The sight brings unexpected comfort. You have traveled far today, farther than most people travel in weeks, yet your journey has only begun. The relay station grows larger as you approach. Smoke rises from its chimneys. Several horses stand inside fenced enclosures. Lantern light begins flickering in the gathering dusk. The smell of cooking reaches you long before you arrive. Warm, inviting, human. The horse senses rest ahead and quickens slightly. You smile. You are both tired. By the time you enter the station yard, the sun is nearly gone. The first stars appear overhead. Someone greets you. The message is inspected. Your credentials recognized. Everything proceeds calmly, practiced, efficient. This place has welcomed countless riders before you. and tomorrow it will welcome countless more. Fresh horses wait nearby, ready for the next stage, ready for another messenger, ready for another message. Inside, warmth fills the air. A fire crackles softly. Travellers speak in low voices. Food simmers. Boots dry beside the hearth. For a few precious moments, the vastness outside feels distant. You sit quietly, watching flames dance across the room, listening to unfamiliar accents, wondering where everyone has come from, wondering where they are going. The message remains beside you, still sealed, still mysterious, still carrying words meant for someone far away. Tomorrow you will ride again, across new landscapes, toward new horizons, toward places you cannot yet imagine. But tonight there is only the fire, the warmth, the quiet murmur of travellers, and the comforting knowledge that somewhere beyond the darkness, roads continue in every direction beneath the stars, waiting, always waiting, for another rider to arrive, and another message to begin its journey. Morning arrives gently. You wake before sunrise, not because anyone calls you, but because the relay station itself seems to awaken around you. Somewhere outside, horses shift. Inside their enclosures, leather harnesses jingle softly. A door opens and closes. Footsteps cross packed earth. The fire that warmed the room through the night has faded into glowing embers. For a moment, you remain still beneath your blanket, listening. The world beyond the walls is already preparing for movement, and movement is the purpose of this place. The relay station is not a village, not quite a camp, not exactly a home. It exists for travellers, for arrivals and departures, for messages that never stay long. Last night, strangers sat around the fire. This morning, many are already gone. New faces have arrived. Others will appear before sunset. The station feels less like a destination and more like a current in a river. Everything flows through it. Nothing remains for very long. You sit up and stretch. The air is cool again. Outside, dawn paints the horizon in pale silver. The grasslands shimmer beneath a thin layer of morning frost. Your horse rests nearby, though not for much longer. Fresh horses wait here for messengers. That is one of the great comforts of the road. No single animal must carry the burden forever. The empire stretches too far for that. Instead, the journey continues through a succession of strong legs, fresh lungs, and willing hearts. A station keeper greets you with a nod. He has likely seen thousands of riders pass through. He asks a few questions. His work is practical, quiet, steady, like much of life along these roads. You eat a simple meal, warm broth, bread, a handful of dried meat, nothing elaborate. Yet after a long day in the saddle, it feels perfect. The message remains safely secured. You check the seal, unbroken, untouched, exactly as it should be. Outside, the eastern sky begins to glow. Another day is waiting. Soon a fresh horse is prepared. Its coat shines in the early light. It stamps impatiently, eager to move. You transfer your belongings carefully. The message comes first, always first. Everything else feels secondary. The station keeper watches, then points toward the road ahead. Though road may not be the right word, there is no paved path, no stone surface, no grand avenue stretching across the horizon. Instead, there are tracks, trails, subtle signs left by generations of travellers. Yet somehow everyone seems to know where they lead. You mount, offer a final nod, then ride onward. The relay station gradually shrinks behind you. Before long, it becomes another small shape on the horizon, then vanishes entirely. The morning unfolds around you. The grasslands seem different today, not because they have changed, but because you are beginning to notice details. Yesterday, everything felt unfamiliar. Today, patterns emerge, the shape of distant hills, the way travelers navigate by landmarks, the way certain streams bend across the landscape, the way birds gather near water. The road is slowly teaching itself to you. Travel has its own education. No teacher stands before you. No lessons are spoken aloud. Instead, the land itself becomes the instructor. Hour after hour, mile after mile, the road reveals its secrets. You begin noticing how relay stations often appear at just the right moment. Not too close together, not impossibly far apart, like stepping stones scattered across a vast river. One station leads naturally to the next, each forming part of something much larger. By mid-morning, another rider appears ahead. This one travels in the same direction. You gradually close the distance. Soon you ride within speaking range. The rider is older, weathered by years beneath sun and wind. His cloak shows signs of many journeys. His horse moves confidently, as though both rider and animal know every hill and valley ahead. You exchange greetings, nothing elaborate. Travelers often understand silence. Conversation comes gradually, naturally. He asks where you began. You tell him. He nods, then asks where you are headed. You laugh softly. The truth is you only know the next station. Beyond that, another, and another. The destination exists somewhere far ahead, hidden beyond countless horizons. The older rider smiles. He seems familiar with that feeling. Soon he shares stories, not dramatic tales, not adventures, simply observations gathered across years of travel. How certain valleys become difficult after heavy rain. How one particular station serves excellent soup during winter. How mountain winds can surprise even experienced riders. How some roads feel lonely, while others seem alive with constant movement. You listen carefully. This knowledge feels valuable, not because it appears in official instructions, but because it comes from experience. The road teaches many lessons. Travelers pass them along, the way one rider hands a torch to another. Eventually, your paths separate. He takes a different route, one leading toward another region, another corner of the vast empire. Before leaving, he raises a hand, then disappears into the distance. Soon, only his fading tracks remain. Then even those are gone. The grasslands reclaim everything. You continue alone, yet somehow you feel less alone than yesterday. Perhaps because the roads themselves are beginning to feel familiar. The relay stations too, each one different, yet each connected. By afternoon, another station appears, this one larger than the previous. Several buildings stand behind sturdy fences. Smoke rises from multiple chimneys. Dozens of horses graze nearby. Travelers arrive, others depart. Activity hums quietly across the yard. You ride through the gate. Immediately you notice movement. A merchant unloading supplies. A station worker leading fresh horses. A messenger preparing to leave. A family resting beside a wagon. The place feels alive. Not chaotic, simply active, purposeful. Everyone seems to have somewhere to be. The station functions like a heartbeat, steady, reliable, keeping distant regions connected. You dismount. A fresh horse is quickly arranged. The efficiency impresses you. No one wastes time. No one rushes unnecessarily. The process feels practiced, refined by years of repetition. The message moves onward. That is what matters. As you prepare to leave, your gaze drifts across the station. You notice horses from different regions, travelers wearing unfamiliar clothing. languages you do not recognize, faces shaped by distant landscapes. The empire reveals itself in fragments. A person from one valley, a trader from another, a rider from somewhere beyond the horizon, all meeting briefly before continuing their journeys. You realize something. The roads do more than move messages. They move people, ideas, stories, rumors, songs, memories. Every traveler carries something invisible, something impossible to seal inside a package. And every station becomes a place where those unseen things briefly cross paths. The afternoon grows warmer. You ride onward. The rhythm returns. Hooves, wind, breathing, sky. The repetition becomes strangely comforting. A moving meditation. Hours pass. Clouds drift overhead. Shadows stretch slowly across the earth. You begin noticing signs of approaching travelers long before seeing them. A faint dust cloud, a distant shape, movement against the horizon. The roads sharpen your awareness. You learn to read subtle clues, to anticipate, to observe. The land speaks quietly, yet constantly. By evening the weather changes. Thin clouds gather. The wind strengthens. Nothing severe. Just enough to remind you how exposed these open lands can feel. The temperature drops. The scent of approaching rain lingers in the air. Ahead, another relay station appears. You find yourself unexpectedly relieved. Not because the journey is difficult, but because these stations have already become familiar landmarks. Small islands of warmth scattered across an enormous sea of grass. As you approach, lanterns glow softly in gathering darkness. The sight feels welcoming, almost home-like, though home itself may now be hundreds of miles away. Inside, travelers gather around a fire. The room is warmer than the evening air. Steam rises from bowls of food. Someone quietly repairs a saddle. Another traveler sharpens a knife. A young messenger studies a map. Nobody speaks loudly. The atmosphere encourages calm, rest, preparation. Tomorrow everyone will move again. Tonight they pause. You settle near the fire. The message rests beside you, still sealed, still silent. You wonder how many relay stations it has already passed through before reaching your hands. How many more remain ahead? Perhaps dozens, perhaps more. Its journey extends far beyond your own. The thought fascinates you. You are not carrying a message across the empire. You are carrying it through one small part of its journey. Others carried it before. Others may carry it after. The road belongs to many people, not just one rider. The fire crackles softly. Outside, wind brushes against the walls. Somewhere, a horse nickers quietly. You watch sparks drift upward into darkness, then vanish. Tomorrow more roads await, more stations, more horizons, and gradually, little by little, the vast network stretching across the empire will reveal itself, not through maps, not through explanations, but through experience. One ride, one station, one horizon at a time. The grasslands seem to begin before dawn. You notice it the moment you step outside the relay station. The sky is still dark. Stars hang quietly above the earth. A faint silver glow rests along the eastern horizon, yet already the plains stretch away into shadow. Vast, silent, waiting. The wind moves softly through the grass, a sound almost like distant water. You stand for a moment beside your horse, breathing the cold air, looking outward. There are mornings when the world feels large, and then there are mornings like this. Mornings when the world feels endless. The station behind you is little more than a collection of dark shapes against the earth. A few lanterns flicker near the entrance. Warm light spills from a doorway. Inside, travelers are finishing breakfast. Outside, The Empire sleeps beneath the stars. At least it seems that way. But you know better now. Somewhere beyond the horizon, another messenger is already riding. Another horse is already moving. Another station keeper is already preparing fresh mounts. The roads never truly sleep. Even during the deepest hours of night, messages continue crossing the land. You tighten a strap, check the sealed message, then mount your horse. The animal shifts beneath you, warm, strong, ready. The first part of the journey unfolds beneath a sky full of fading stars. Hooves press softly against the earth. The station slowly disappears behind you. Soon there is only darkness, grass, and movement. Gradually dawn begins its work. The eastern horizon brightens. Colors emerge. Silver becomes pale blue. Blue becomes gold. Shadows retreat across the plains. The world awakens, and with every passing mile the grasslands reveal themselves. Rolling hills, gentle valleys, long stretches of open earth. Nothing dramatic, nothing abrupt. The land changes slowly here, patiently, like a story told over many hours. At sunrise, the plains glow with soft golden light. Every blade of grass seems illuminated. Tiny drops of moisture sparkle briefly before disappearing. Birds rise into the air. Their wings flash against the morning sky. The horse settles into a steady pace. You relax into the saddle. Already you understand something important about these lands. Distance behaves differently here. A hill that appears close may require hours to reach. A cluster of trees can linger on the horizon all morning. The eye struggles to judge scale. Everything feels farther away than expected, and somehow closer too. The grasslands play strange tricks on perception. You spend much of the morning simply riding. No villages, no stations, no roads clearly visible. Only faint tracks crossing the earth. At times they seem to disappear entirely, then reappear farther ahead. Yet there is never any real doubt. Travelers have passed this way before, countless travelers. The route exists because people remember it, because horses remember it, because movement itself leaves traces. The wind brushes constantly against your face. Not harsh, not strong, just present, an invisible companion riding beside you. The scent of wild grass fills the air. Occasionally you catch the smell of distant water, or damp earth, or horses. The smells change slowly, like the landscape. By mid-morning you crest a long rise. The view beyond steals your attention. The plains stretch farther than you thought possible. Waves of grass ripple beneath the wind. The horizon forms a perfect circle around you. For a moment it feels as though you are standing at the center of the world. No walls, no mountains, no boundaries, only sky and earth. The openness is beautiful, but it can also feel lonely. That realization arrives unexpectedly. You have seen travelers, you have visited stations, yet out here between destinations, solitude becomes something tangible, something almost physical. The silence feels larger, the distances feel greater. You think about the message riding beside you, a small package, a few written words, perhaps intended for someone you will never meet, perhaps destined for a city you will never see. Yet somehow those unseen people feel connected to you. Their lives touch yours through this responsibility. For a little while, your paths overlap. Then they will separate again. Like travelers crossing an endless plain, the thought lingers as you continue. The sun climbs higher. Warmth spreads across the grasslands. Small animals dart between patches of vegetation. A fox appears briefly atop a ridge, pauses, watches, then disappears. The world feels alive in subtle ways. Not crowded, not noisy, simply inhabited. You begin noticing herds in the distance. Some belong to nomadic families, others wander freely. At this range, they appear as dark shapes scattered across the earth, tiny against the enormous landscape. The farther you travel, the more remarkable the scale becomes. Human beings seem small here. Not insignificant, just small. The land has a way of reminding you. Near midday, you encounter a family moving across the plains. Their carts roll slowly behind sturdy animals. Children ride alongside. Dogs weave through the procession. The entire group moves at an unhurried pace. You exchange greetings as you pass. Nothing more. Yet the encounter remains with you, perhaps because it offers a reminder that not everyone experiences these roads as you do. You travel quickly, purposefully, driven by duty. Others travel with homes beside them, with families, with entire lives moving across the grasslands. The empire contains many journeys, not just yours. Hours later, the family is gone, swallowed by distance. The plains reclaim their solitude. Clouds drift overhead, large white formations casting moving shadows across the earth. You watch them travel. Sometimes their progress seems faster than your own. They slide across the grasslands effortlessly, unburdened by roads, unburdened by responsibility. The thought makes you smile. A messenger spends much time observing simple things: clouds, birds, grass, light. Perhaps that is inevitable. The landscape offers little distraction, and so your attention sharpens. You notice details that might otherwise go unseen. The color variations hidden within the grass, the changing sound of wind, the way sunlight shifts throughout the day, the rhythm of your horse's breathing, the creak of leather, the soft clink of metal fittings. These sounds become familiar, comforting, part of the journey itself. By afternoon, the heat grows stronger. The air shimmers above distant stretches of land. Mirages begin appearing along the horizon, pools of imaginary water, reflections that vanish as you approach. The grasslands seem to enjoy their illusions. You learn not to trust every distant shape. Patience becomes essential. Eventually, reality reveals itself. The horse continues steadily, fresh and strong. One of many companions this journey will provide. You wonder how many horses will carry you before the message reaches its destination. 10, 20, more. The empire measures distance differently than ordinary travelers. A messenger learns to think in stations, in horses, in days of riding. The miles themselves lose meaning. What matters is progress, movement, the next horizon. As afternoon fades, the quality of light changes once again. The harsh brightness softens, golden tones return. Long shadows stretch across the plains. The wind cools. The grasslands seem to exhale. You feel it too. The relief that arrives with evening, the slowing of the day. Ahead, you finally spot another rider, the first since morning, a distant figure moving toward you. At first, little more than a silhouette, gradually becoming clearer. The meeting lasts only moments, a greeting, a nod, a brief exchange of information about the road ahead. Then both of you continue. Separate paths, separate responsibilities. The encounter is short, yet strangely reassuring. Proof that others share these roads. Proof that movement continues beyond the limits of your sight. Soon the rider disappears behind you. The plains grow quiet once more. The sun sinks lower. Orange light spills across the earth. The entire landscape seems transformed. Grass becomes gold. Shadows become blue. The horizon burns softly beneath the evening sky. You ride through the beauty in silence. There is nothing to add, nothing to explain. Some moments are complete exactly as they are. Eventually, a dark shape appears far ahead. Another relay station, small against the immensity surrounding it, yet instantly recognizable. A familiar promise. Food, shelter, fresh horses, human voices. You continue toward it. Slowly the details emerge. Buildings, fences, smoke rising into the evening air, lanterns glowing warmly. The station seems almost unreal after so many hours alone on the plains, like an island appearing after a long voyage. As you enter the yard, the smells reach you first. Wood smoke, cooking meat, fresh hay, horse sweat, all the sense of movement and rest combined. Workers greet arriving travelers. Animals are watered. Supplies are organized. The routine unfolds smoothly, as though it has happened 1,000 times before. Perhaps it has. You dismount carefully, legs slightly stiff from a full day in the saddle. The message remains secure. The seal remains intact. Another successful day. Inside the station, warmth surrounds you. Voices murmur quietly. Someone laughs softly near the fire. A kettle simmers. Travelers settle into their evening rituals. Outside, darkness gradually covers the plains. The endless grasslands disappear beneath the night. But you know they remain there, stretching beyond sight, stretching beyond imagination, waiting for tomorrow, waiting for more riders, waiting for more messages, waiting for another day of movement beneath the endless sky. And as you sit beside the fire, listening to the crackle of burning wood and the distant sound of horses beyond the walls, you begin to understand something the road has been teaching all along. The grasslands are not empty. They are full of journeys, full of stories, full of invisible connections moving quietly from one horizon to the next, just like the message resting beside you now. Sometime during the night, the wind changes. You hear it before you see it, a low whisper moving around the walls of the relay station. Not loud, not threatening, just different. When morning arrives and you step outside, the air feels unfamiliar against your skin, cooler, sharper. The sky has changed too. Yesterday, it stretched endlessly above the grasslands in clear shades of blue. Today, thin clouds drift across the horizon, long grey streaks moving steadily eastward. The horse assigned to you this morning flicks its ears toward the wind. Perhaps it notices the change before you do. Animals often seem to understand weather in ways people never fully learn. You tighten your cloak, check the message, then begin another day upon the road. The first miles feel pleasant enough. The cool air is refreshing after several warmer days. The horse moves comfortably. The clouds cast shifting shadows across the plains. Everything feels calm. Yet the farther you ride, the more you begin noticing subtle signs. The wind grows stronger. Grass bends farther beneath each passing gust. Birds fly lower than usual. The air carries a scent you recognize. Rain, not nearby, not yet, but somewhere ahead. The road teaches patience. It also teaches acceptance. A messenger cannot wait for perfect weather. Messages must move whether skies are clear or dark, whether winds are gentle or fierce, whether roads are dry or soaked with rain. The empire stretches too far for delays, and so you continue. By mid-morning, the first drops arrive. Small, scattered, barely noticeable, dark spots appearing briefly upon leather and cloth. The horse lowers its head slightly. You pull your hood forward. The rain remains light, almost pleasant, a cool mist drifting across the grasslands. The landscape softens beneath it. Colors deepen. The scent of wet earth rises into the air. For a time, the journey feels peaceful. Rain often changes the world without changing its shape. The same hills remain, the same roads, the same distant horizon. Yet everything feels quieter, more reflective. The sounds of travel become muted. Hooves strike damp ground with softer rhythms. Wind and rain blend together. The grasslands seem to breathe more slowly. You find yourself riding in silence, watching droplets gather along the horse's mane, watching tiny streams form in low places, watching clouds move steadily overhead. Hours pass. The rain continues. Never heavy, never dramatic, simply persistent. A reminder that endurance is often less about surviving great hardships and more about continuing through small discomforts. 1 mile, then another, then another. The cloak becomes damp. Boots collect moisture. The saddle feels less comfortable than before. None of it is severe, yet each small inconvenience accumulates. The road asks for patience, and patience becomes part of your duty. Near midday, the rain finally weakens, then stops. The clouds begin breaking apart. Sunlight returns in scattered beams. The world glitters. Every blade of grass shines. Water sparkles along the earth. The horse seems to lift its spirits immediately. Perhaps you do as well. The warmth feels welcome. You stop briefly beside a shallow stream, not because you must, but because both rider and horse appreciate the pause. The stream rushes over smooth stones, clear and cold. You kneel beside it, splash water across your face. The chill awakens every sense. For several moments you simply listen. Water, wind, birdsong, the distant rustle of grass. Then you rise. The message remains secure. The journey continues. Distance has begun behaving strangely. You notice this more each day. When you first departed, every mile felt significant. Every horizon felt meaningful. Now the distances blur together. A morning becomes a stretch of movement. An afternoon becomes another. The road unfolds endlessly ahead. And somehow the mind adjusts. What once seemed vast becomes routine. What once felt distant now feels normal. Yet the empire itself has not grown smaller. You have simply become accustomed to its scale. That realization arrives gradually, the same way dawn arrives, without announcing itself. One moment you are thinking about the next station, the next horse, the next meal. Then suddenly you remember how far you have already traveled, how many horizons lie behind you, how many relay stations have faded into memory. The thought is difficult to grasp. The road stretches in both directions now, ahead and behind. By afternoon, the weather changes again, this time more dramatically. Dark clouds gather in the west, large, heavy, moving with purpose. The wind strengthens. Grass bends low beneath powerful gusts. Dust rises into the air. The horse becomes more alert. Its ears shift constantly. The world feels expectant, waiting. You know what is coming. So does everyone else beneath this sky. The storm arrives suddenly, not violent, but determined. Rain sweeps across the plains in long grey curtains. The horizon disappears. The landscape contracts. What was once visible for miles now exists only a short distance ahead. You ride through shifting veils of rain. The sound surrounds you, water striking earth, water striking leather, water striking grass. The horse pushes forward steadily. Its patience impresses you. Perhaps endurance is shared between rider and animal. Neither speaks, yet both continue. The road remains, even when invisible. That may be one of the first lessons every messenger learns. The path does not disappear simply because conditions change. You trust it and keep moving. Time passes differently during storms. Minutes stretch, distances feel longer. Attention narrows. You focus on the next rise, the next landmark, the next glimpse of direction. everything else fades away. The message rests safely beneath layers of protection. You check it more often during weather like this, not because you doubt its safety, because responsibility becomes more visible during difficulty. When conditions are easy, duty feels light. When challenges appear, duty reveals its weight. Late in the afternoon, the storm begins weakening. The rain slows, clouds break apart, light returns. At first only small patches, then larger openings. Sunbeams spill across the plains. The effect feels almost magical. Golden light illuminating wet grass, steam rising from the earth, rainbows appearing briefly in distant mist. The world seems renewed, fresh, clean, as though the storm carried away old dust and fatigue. You breathe deeply. The air smells wonderful. Wet earth, fresh grass, rain-cooled wind. Some scents stay with the traveler forever. This is one of them. The horse seems happier too. Its pace becomes more energetic. The road stretches ahead beneath clearing skies. You realize how much of this journey involves adaptation, not resistance. Adaptation. The weather changes, you adjust. The road changes, you adjust. The landscape changes, you adjust. A messenger survives not by controlling circumstances, but by moving through them. The thought lingers as evening approaches. The storm clouds continue drifting eastward. Behind them, the setting sun creates extraordinary colors. Orange, gold, purple, deep blue. The sky becomes a painting stretched across the horizon. For several minutes you simply watch. The horse continues forward. The road continues forward. And above both, the heavens perform their quiet evening ritual. Moments like this make the distance worthwhile, not because they erase hardship, because they exist alongside it. Beauty and difficulty often travel together. The road has already taught you that. Ahead, another relay station appears. Its lanterns glow warmly against the approaching darkness. A familiar sight. One that never loses its comfort. No matter how many stations you visit, no matter how many miles you ride, the sight of shelter after a long day always brings relief. As you approach, the smell of wood smoke reaches you, then voices, then the sounds of horses being cared for. The station feels alive, a refuge against weather and distance alike. You enter through the gate. Workers immediately move to assist arriving travelers. Fresh water, fresh hay, fresh horses waiting for tomorrow. The rhythm never stops. Inside, warmth fills the main room. Travelers dry damp cloaks near the fire. Steam rises from cooking pots. Someone quietly tells a story in a language you do not understand. Others listen anyway. The meaning matters less than the sound. Human voices have a way of creating comfort, especially after hours spent alone with wind and rain. You settle beside the fire. The heat feels wonderful. Gradually the stiffness leaves your muscles. The fatigue leaves your shoulders. Outside, darkness covers the plains once again. The storm has moved on. Tomorrow another kind of weather will arrive. Perhaps sunshine, perhaps wind, perhaps cold, perhaps rain. The road never promises consistency, only continuation. And as you sit quietly watching sparks rise into the air above the fire, you begin understanding that endurance is not a single act of strength. It is something gentler, something quieter, the willingness to rise each morning. Mount another horse, check the seal, face whatever weather awaits, and continue moving toward a horizon that always seems just a little farther away. One morning, the horizon changes. For days, perhaps weeks, the world has unfolded in wide open distances, grasslands, rolling hills, endless skies. The land has breathed outward in every direction. But today, Something rises ahead. At first, it appears only as a faint shadow along the edge of the world, a dark line separating earth from sky. Then, as the hours pass, the shape grows clearer, larger, stronger. Mountains. They stand quietly in the distance, ancient, immovable, watching over the roads long before your journey began, and likely long after it ends. The sight fills you with a strange mixture of anticipation and respect. The grasslands have taught you openness. The mountains will teach something different. You leave the relay station shortly after sunrise. The air already feels cooler. The wind carries unfamiliar scents. Stone, pine, cold water. The smells arrive long before the mountains themselves, as though the land is announcing what lies ahead. The horse beneath you seems energetic. Its breath drifts through the crisp morning air. The road gradually changes. Tracks that once wandered freely across open plains now begin following valleys and ridges. The landscape grows more structured, more deliberate. Travel becomes less about choosing direction and more about following the paths the land allows. By mid-morning, the mountains dominate the horizon. Their peaks rise into scattered clouds. Some slopes glow beneath sunlight. Others remain hidden in shadow. The scale is difficult to comprehend. You have crossed enormous grasslands, yet somehow these mountains feel even larger. Perhaps because they rise upward rather than outward. They command attention. The farther you travel, the quieter you become. There is something about mountains that encourages silence. Perhaps it is their age, perhaps their patience, perhaps simply their presence. The road narrows. Streams appear more frequently. Their water rushes over stones polished smooth by centuries of movement. The sound accompanies your journey, a constant murmur beside the trail. You stop briefly at one crossing. The water is so clear that every pebble beneath the surface remains visible. Cold mountain water, fresh from distant heights. You kneel and drink. The chill surprises you. It feels as though the mountains themselves have entered your lungs. Nearby, the horse lowers its head to drink as well. For several minutes, neither of you hurry. The mountains seem to discourage rushing. Everything here feels measured, deliberate, steady. Eventually you continue. The trail begins climbing. Not steeply at first, just enough to notice. The horse's breathing changes slightly. Its pace becomes more careful, more thoughtful. The open gallops of the grasslands are gone. Mountain travel requires patience. The road winds between hills, around rocky outcrops, along narrow ledges. Each turn reveals another view, another valley, another ridge, another glimpse into the vast landscape beyond. Sometimes you stop simply to look. Far below, the world stretches outward in layers, green valleys, silver rivers, dark forests, distant plains fading into haze. The empire feels different from up here, not smaller, simply more visible. The roads become easier to imagine, invisible threads weaving through the land, connecting places separated by enormous distances. You wonder how many messages have traveled these routes, how many riders have paused exactly where you stand, looking out across the valleys, thinking their own thoughts, carrying their own responsibilities. The realization brings comfort. Travel often feels solitary, yet the road is filled with unseen companions, those who came before, those who will follow after, all connected through movement. The trail climbs higher. By afternoon, the air grows noticeably colder. You pull your cloak tighter. Cloud shadows drift across the mountainsides. Sunlight appears and disappears. The weather changes rapidly here, more rapidly than on the plains. One moment warmth, the next cool wind descending from higher elevations. The mountains create their own world, their own rhythms, their own moods. Soon the landscape changes again. Trees appear, first scattered, then numerous. Tall pines covering entire slopes. The scent fills the air immediately. Fresh, sharp, earthy. After so many days among grasslands, the forest feels almost magical. Sunlight filters through branches. Birds move between the trees. The sounds are different here. Less wind, more life, more hidden movement. The horse seems calmer beneath the forest canopy. Perhaps animals appreciate shelter as much as people do. The trail winds through the woods. Needles soften the ground. Hoofbeats become quieter. The journey feels gentler, for a time. Then the climb resumes, steeper now, more demanding. The horse works harder. You do as well. Travel in mountains requires attention. Loose stones, sharp turns, narrow sections where one careless moment could create difficulties. Nothing dangerous, simply challenging. The road asks more from you here, and you give it. Hour after hour, step after step. The mountains teach endurance differently than the plains. The grasslands challenge you with distance. The mountains challenge you with effort. Both demand patience. Both reward persistence. Late in the afternoon, clouds gather around the higher peaks. Mist drifts through the valleys. The world becomes softer, less defined. The mountains appear and disappear behind veils of white. One ridge emerges, another vanishes. The scenery feels dreamlike, almost unreal. You continue through it, the horse's breath visible now in the cooler air, the trail winding steadily upward. Occasionally you encounter other travelers. A merchant leading pack animals, a shepherd moving a small flock, another messenger descending from higher elevations. These meetings are brief, yet memorable, perhaps because mountain roads naturally bring travelers together. There are fewer paths, fewer routes. People crossing these heights often share the same narrow corridors through the landscape. One elderly traveler pauses beside you near a stream. The two of you exchange greetings, then sit quietly for a few moments, listening to the water, listening to the wind moving through pine trees. Neither of you speaks much. There seems little need. The mountains create a different kind of conversation, one built from shared observation rather than words. Eventually, the traveler continues onward. You do the same. The road climbs higher, then finally begins descending. The change feels welcome. The horse seems pleased as well. Below, a valley unfolds, wide and green, a ribbon of river winding through its center. And near that river, exactly where you hope to find it, stands a relay station. Its buildings appear small from this distance, yet unmistakable. A familiar promise waiting at the end of a long day. The descent takes time. Mountain distances can be deceptive. The station appears close, yet remains far away. You gradually lose elevation, crossing streams, passing through stands of trees, following the trail as it twists and turns. The valley grows larger, details sharpen, smoke rises from chimneys, horses graze near fenced fields, lanterns begin glowing softly as evening approaches. The sight brings a sense of relief unlike any you have experienced on the plains. Perhaps because mountain travel requires more concentration, more effort, more awareness. The promise of rest feels especially valuable tonight. By the time you arrive, the sun has disappeared behind the peaks. Long shadows fill the valley. Cool air settles over the landscape. The station keeper welcomes arriving travelers with practiced efficiency. Fresh water waits. Food simmers inside. Horses are cared for. Messages continue moving. The rhythm remains unchanged even here among the mountains. Inside, warmth fills the main room. A fire burns brightly. Its light dances across wooden walls. Travelers sit nearby, some arriving, some preparing to leave at dawn. The familiar cycle continues. You settle onto a bench near the hearth. The message remains secure, its seal untouched, its destination still somewhere beyond the horizon. Outside, darkness slowly covers the mountains. Peaks disappear into night. The valleys grow quiet. Only the river continues speaking, its gentle sound drifting through the evening air. You listen to it while warmth returns to your hands, while fatigue leaves your muscles, while the fire crackles softly beside you. And you realize something. The empire is not one landscape, not one road, not one world. It is many worlds connected together. Grasslands, forests, mountains, rivers, each with its own challenges, each with its own beauty. And somehow the messages continue crossing them all, carried by riders, carried by horses, carried by trust, moving steadily from one distant place to another, just as you will continue tomorrow, when another trail awaits beyond the mountains, and another horizon waits beyond that. The road is often quiet. That is one of the first things you learn as a messenger. There are long stretches when the only sounds are hoofbeats, wind, and the occasional call of a bird somewhere beyond sight. Hours may pass without another traveler appearing. Entire afternoons can unfold beneath open skies without a single conversation. And yet, despite those long periods of solitude, the road is full of people, not crowded, not busy, but inhabited. Lives are constantly crossing the empire, moving in every direction. And sooner or later, every messenger becomes a collector of brief encounters, faces remembered, voices heard once, stories glimpsed only for a moment before continuing onward. You leave the mountain valley shortly after dawn. Mist lingers along the river. The water reflects pale morning light. For a while, the world feels suspended between dream and waking. The horse walks quietly. The road follows the river before gradually climbing onto higher ground. As the sun rises, the mist begins to dissolve. The valley opens. The journey continues. By mid-morning, you spot movement ahead. A wagon, slow-moving, drawn by sturdy animals. Several figures travel alongside it. As you approach, details emerge. Bundles of goods, rolled fabrics, wooden chests secured with rope, merchants. You slow slightly as you pass. Greetings are exchanged. One of the merchants smiles and offers a piece of dried fruit. You accept gratefully. The sweetness surprises you. A small gift, yet somehow memorable. The merchant asks where you are headed. You offer the usual answer. The next station, then the next, then beyond. He laughs. The answer is familiar. Many travelers understand that feeling. Destinations often exist farther away than words can comfortably describe. The wagon continues its slow progress. You ride onward. Within minutes, the merchants begin shrinking behind you. Soon, they become small shapes against the landscape, then disappear entirely. The encounter lasts less than 5 minutes, yet it brightens the morning. Travel teaches an appreciation for brief human moments, perhaps because they are never guaranteed. The road continues, the landscape gradually changes again. The mountains fade behind you. Rolling hills replace steep slopes. Fields appear. Occasional clusters of trees. Signs of settlement become more common. Not large towns, just evidence that people live nearby, a fenced pasture, a distant farmhouse, smoke rising from a chimney. Every sign feels reassuring, proof that even the vastest landscapes contain human lives hidden within them. Near midday, you encounter a shepherd. He stands beside a flock grazing peacefully along a hillside. The animals move like a drifting cloud across the grass. The shepherd raises a hand as you approach. You return the gesture. Neither of you stops. Neither of you speaks. Yet somehow the greeting feels complete. A simple acknowledgement. One traveler recognizing another. The road contains many such moments. Tiny connections, brief and quiet, easy to overlook, yet strangely meaningful. As the day grows warmer, you stop beside a stream for a short rest. The horse drinks. You refill your water skin. Nearby, beneath the shade of a tree, sits an elderly woman. At first, you had not noticed her. She appears completely at ease, watching the water flow past, watching the clouds drift overhead. She offers a polite greeting. You sit for a moment, not because you must, because the place feels peaceful. The woman speaks softly. She asks no personal questions. Instead, she comments on the weather, the river, the changing seasons. Simple observations. Yet as you listen, you realize something. People along the road often become experts in noticing small things. The shape of clouds, the timing of rain, the behavior of birds, the condition of grass. Their lives depend upon observation, just as yours does. After a few minutes, you continue your journey. The woman remains beneath the tree, watching the stream, watching the day unfold. Perhaps she will still be there when evening arrives. The image remains with you long afterward. The road teaches many lessons. One of them is that not everyone measures life through distance traveled. Some measure it through stillness. By afternoon, you reach another relay station. This one, busier than most. The yard contains travelers from many directions. Horses, wagons, pack animals, supplies. Movement fills every corner of the station. You dismount. The message is checked. A fresh horse is prepared. The routine now feels familiar, comforting. While waiting, you sit beneath the shade of a wooden awning. From there, you watch the travelers around you. A merchant carefully counting coins. A young rider nervously adjusting a saddle. Two station workers carrying supplies. A family sharing a meal. Everyone seems occupied. Everyone seems focused upon their own journey. Yet all have arrived at the same place. For a brief moment, countless paths intersect, then separate again. The station feels like a crossroads of stories, a place where lives brush gently against one another before continuing onward. You wonder how many messages have passed through this yard, how many decisions, how many hopes, how many fears, all carried from one distant place to another. The thought settles quietly into your mind. Soon it is time to ride again. The afternoon road stretches ahead. Fresh horse, fresh energy, fresh horizon. The rhythm resumes. Hooves, wind, breathing, sky. The simplicity of travel remains one of its greatest comforts. The world narrows to manageable pieces. The next mile, the next hill, the next stream crossing, the next station. Everything else can wait. Hours later, you encounter another messenger traveling in the opposite direction. This happens often now, enough that you immediately recognize the signs, the posture, the equipment, the steady pace, the purposeful expression. You greet each other as your horses slow. For a few moments you exchange information about the roads ahead. Nothing complicated. A washed-out section of trail. A station currently crowded with travelers. A river running slightly higher than usual. Practical knowledge, the kind that keeps journeys moving smoothly. Then the messenger continues. You watch him ride away. Soon he becomes another silhouette against the horizon, then vanishes. The encounter leaves you thinking. Messengers rarely know one another, yet they share something unusual. A common understanding of distance, of responsibility, of carrying words meant for someone else. Perhaps that creates a quiet bond, even among strangers. As evening approaches, clouds gather overhead. Not storm clouds, just soft grey layers spreading across the sky. The light becomes gentler, more subdued. The landscape settles into calm colours. You pass a small settlement nestled beside a stream. Children pause their play to watch you ride past. A dog barks once, then loses interest. Several adults continue their work without interruption. To them, travellers are nothing unusual. The roads bring people constantly, merchants, messengers, pilgrims, officials. The settlement exists because movement exists. Roads create connections. Connections create communities. You continue onward. The sounds of the settlement fade behind you. Soon there is only open country once more, and the familiar companionship of your horse. Late in the day, another traveller appears, a young man leading 2 pack animals. His journey seems slower than yours, less urgent, yet no less important. The two of you share part of the road together for a short time. Conversation comes easily. You discuss weather, road conditions, nearby stations. Nothing profound, nothing dramatic. Yet by the time your paths separate, you realize the conversation has made the afternoon feel shorter, lighter. Human voices possess a unique power. They remind us that distance is not the same thing as isolation. Eventually, the young traveller turns toward a side trail. You continue forward. The sun sinks lower. Golden light spreads across the landscape. Long shadows stretch across the earth. The day begins folding itself toward evening. Ahead, another relay station appears. A familiar sight now. Lanterns glowing softly. Smoke rising into cool air. The promise of warmth after a long day. You arrive shortly before sunset. The station feels welcoming, lived in, comfortable. Inside, travellers gather around the fire. Some talk quietly. Others sit in thoughtful silence. A few prepare for tomorrow's journey. The room feels full of motion, even while everyone rests. Because every traveller carries a destination within them. You settle onto a bench. The message remains secure, still sealed, still mysterious. The words inside continue their unseen journey. Outside, darkness slowly settles across the land. Inside, the fire crackles softly. Faces glow in warm light. Voices rise and fall. For a while, you simply watch, listening, observing, thinking about all the people encountered along the road. The merchant with dried fruit, the shepherd, the woman beside the stream, the young traveller with pack animals, the fellow messenger, each meeting brief, each seemingly small. Yet together, they form part of the journey. Because crossing an empire is not only about landscapes, not only about roads, not only about distance. It is also about people. People whose lives briefly touch yours before continuing onward. Like stars appearing for a moment in the night sky. Visible, meaningful, then gone, leaving behind only a memory, and the quiet understanding that somewhere beyond the next horizon, countless other travellers are continuing their own journeys beneath the same vast sky. Some travellers remember the roads, others remember the landscapes, the mountains, the rivers, the grasslands stretching endlessly beneath the sky. But as the journey continues, you find yourself remembering something else. The relay stations. Small points of light scattered across immense distances. Places where movement briefly pauses before beginning again. Places where strangers become familiar for a single evening. Places that seem ordinary at first glance, yet become increasingly important the farther you travel. Tonight, as the sun slips below the horizon and another station comes into view, you feel a quiet sense of gratitude. The day has been long. Not difficult, simply long. The kind of day measured by miles rather than hours. The kind that settles gently into your shoulders. The sight of the station feels reassuring. Lanterns glow near the entrance. Smoke rises from chimneys. A few horses stand quietly behind wooden fences. The entire place radiates warmth. Not just physical warmth, human warmth. You ride through the gate. Immediately, the familiar rhythm begins. Workers greet arriving travelers. Animals are cared for. Supplies are organized. Messages are verified. Everything moves smoothly, almost effortlessly. Yet you know how much work hides beneath that appearance. Stations do not maintain themselves. Fresh horses do not appear by magic. Food does not prepare itself. The road depends upon countless people whose names most travelers never learn. You dismount. A stable worker takes your horse. The animal looks almost relieved. Its work for the day is finished. Tomorrow, another horse will continue the journey. The road asks much from them, yet it also provides moments of rest. You pause briefly beside the enclosure, watching several horses eat quietly. Their breath drifts into the cool evening air. The simple sight feels comforting. After so many days of travel, horses have become more than transportation. They are companions, silent partners in the journey. Soon you enter the main building. Warmth greets you immediately. The air smells of wood smoke and cooking food. A fire crackles inside a large stone hearth. The flames dance across faces and walls alike. Travelers sit nearby, some eating, some talking, some simply staring into the fire after long days upon the road. You find a place near the edge of the room. The message remains secure beside you, as always, as it has every day since the journey began. A bowl of hot stew arrives. Simple ingredients, nothing extravagant. Yet after hours in the saddle, it feels wonderful. The warmth spreads through your hands, through your chest, through tired muscles. Outside, darkness gathers. Inside, life continues. You begin noticing details. A merchant carefully repairing a torn strap. A station worker sweeping the floor. An elderly traveler quietly polishing a wooden cup. Small activities, ordinary activities. Yet together, they create an atmosphere that feels almost timeless. The relay station is not grand, not impressive, yet it possesses something more valuable: purpose. Everything here exists for a reason. Every horse, every lantern, every bed, every bowl of food, all serving the same goal: keeping people moving, keeping connections alive. As evening deepens, more travelers arrive. Each arrival briefly changes the room. Doors open. Cold air enters. Voices rise, then gradually settle again. The rhythm repeats throughout the night. The station breathes, expanding and contracting, welcoming and releasing, never completely still. You find yourself fascinated by the variety of people passing through. One traveler wears clothing unlike anything you have seen before. Another speaks a language you do not recognize. A third carries goods from a distant region. The empire reveals itself in fragments, not through maps, not through lessons, but through people. Each traveler carries evidence of another place. Another landscape, another life. The station becomes a meeting point for worlds that might otherwise never touch. Later, you step outside for fresh air. The night is clear. Stars blanket the sky. The sight still surprises you. No matter how many nights you spend on the road, the stars seem larger out here, brighter, closer somehow. Perhaps because there are fewer distractions. No city lights, no crowded streets, only darkness and sky. You stand quietly in the yard, listening. A horse shifts inside its enclosure. Wind brushes against the buildings. Somewhere in the distance, water moves through a stream. The sounds are small, yet they fill the night completely. For several minutes you simply observe. The station glows behind you, warm windows shining against the darkness. Beyond those windows, travelers share meals and stories. Beyond the fences, the empire stretches outward in every direction. Roads disappearing into night. Roads leading toward places you will never see. Roads carrying messages you will never carry. The thought feels strangely comforting. The world is vast, yet connected. You return inside. The room has grown quieter. Several travelers already sleep. Others speak softly near the fire. A young messenger sits nearby. You recognize the look immediately, the alertness, the curiosity, the subtle uncertainty hidden beneath confidence. Perhaps this is one of his first long journeys. He asks a few questions. Nothing unusual. How far to the next station? What the mountain roads are like? Whether the grasslands truly seem endless? You answer as best you can. Then smile, because not long ago, you were asking the same questions. The road teaches everyone eventually. Experience replaces uncertainty. 1 mile at a time. The young messenger thanks you. Soon, he returns to his own thoughts. The fire continues crackling. The room grows quieter still. Eventually, most travelers sleep. The station settles into nighttime rhythms. Yet even now, movement continues. A late arrival enters. A fresh horse is prepared for a departing rider. A station worker checks supplies. The road never truly rests. It merely slows. You climb into your sleeping space. Simple, comfortable, enough. The sounds of the station continue around you. Muted voices, footsteps, the occasional creak of wood. Gradually, those sounds begin blending together, becoming part of the night's background. Sleep comes easily after long days in the saddle. Yet before drifting off, you think about the stations themselves. How many have you visited already? More than you can easily count. And still each one feels distinct. Different faces, different accents, different surroundings, yet united by a common purpose. You close your eyes. Morning arrives sooner than expected, as it always does. The station awakens gradually. Someone rekindles the fire. Breakfast is prepared. Horses are saddled. Messages are organized. Another day begins. The process feels almost ceremonial now, familiar, comforting, reliable. You eat quietly while watching the room come alive. Travelers prepare for departure. Workers coordinate supplies. The station shifts from rest to movement, like a river beginning to flow after a calm night. Outside, dawn light spreads across the landscape. Fresh horses wait patiently. The air feels crisp, clean, full of possibility. You check the message. Still secure, still sealed, still traveling toward a destination known only to a few. Soon it is time to leave. You step outside. The station keeper offers a brief nod. Nothing more is necessary. The road speaks for itself. You mount your horse. The animal shifts beneath you, ready. The gate stands open. Beyond it lies another day of travel, another stretch of road, another collection of horizons. Before departing, You glance back one final time. The station sits quietly in the morning light, already welcoming new arrivals, already preparing for future departures. A place built not for permanence, but for continuity. A place where journeys pause without ending. Then you turn toward the road. The horse begins moving. The station gradually recedes behind you. Soon it becomes smaller, then smaller still, eventually disappearing into the landscape. Yet you know another will appear eventually, and another after that, because the relay stations are more than buildings. They are the heartbeat of the road, steady, reliable, always present, keeping distant places connected through movement, keeping travelers connected through shared experience, and carrying messages like the one beside you now, ever onward across the vast and beautiful expanse of the empire. There comes a moment on a long journey when distance stops being a number. It stops being measured in days, or stations, or horses. It becomes something else, a feeling, a realization, a quiet understanding that settles gradually into the mind. You wake one morning with that feeling, not because anything dramatic has happened, not because the landscape suddenly changes. The road looks much as it did yesterday. The sky stretches above the earth. The horse waits patiently outside the station. The message remains secured at your side. Everything appears familiar, and yet something inside you has shifted. Perhaps it is because you have now crossed so many regions, so many rivers, so many valleys, so many horizons. Perhaps it is because each relay station has added another piece to a larger picture. Whatever the reason, you begin to sense the true scale of the world around you, and it feels astonishing. The morning begins quietly. A pale sunrise spreads across distant hills. The air carries the scent of damp grass. Birds call from somewhere beyond sight. You ride steadily forward. The landscape unfolds with its usual patience. Yet your attention has changed. You are noticing connections now, patterns, relationships, the way one region gradually blends into another, the way roads join together, the way travelers from vastly different places somehow share the same routes, the same stations, the same horizons. The empire reveals itself not through borders, but through movement. By mid-morning, the road crests a long ridge. You pause briefly. Below stretches an enormous valley, villages scattered near rivers, fields catching sunlight, roads winding through the landscape, tiny figures moving in the distance. From here, everything seems interconnected. The roads resemble threads woven through fabric, each one linking lives together. A merchant heading east, a shepherd moving livestock, a messenger carrying words across impossible distances. The thought lingers as you continue. The horse descends carefully along the trail. The valley slowly rises around you. Soon individual details emerge. Farmers working fields, children beside streams, smoke drifting from cooking fires. Everywhere you look, people are living ordinary lives, yet all those lives exist within a network far larger than themselves. The realization feels strangely beautiful. Most people never see the full extent of the roads. They know their village, their valley, their town, their region. But a messenger travels between worlds. A messenger witnesses how those worlds connect. The day grows warmer. Clouds drift lazily across the sky. The horse settles into a comfortable rhythm. Hours pass. The road carries you onward. Eventually, you arrive at a bustling relay station, larger than most, more crowded. The yard is alive with activity. Horses, travelers, wagons, supplies, voices, movement fills every corner. You dismount and take a moment simply to observe. People from many different regions gather here. Their clothing differs, their accents differ, their customs differ. Yet somehow the station accommodates everyone. The road belongs to all who travel it. A merchant from a distant city shares a meal beside a shepherd from the hills. A messenger exchanges information with a trader from far beyond the mountains. Lives intersect briefly, then continue. Watching them, you begin to understand something important. The empire is not merely land, it is connection. Without the roads, these people might never meet. Without the stations, these encounters might never happen. Without the constant movement of messages and travelers, distant places might remain forever distant. The realization follows you long after you leave the station. The afternoon road stretches ahead. Rolling hills give way to open country once more. The landscape breathes outward, wide and spacious. The sky seems enormous. You have thought this many times during your journey, yet somehow it never becomes less true. The sky remains one of the great companions of travel, always present, always changing, never the same twice. You watch clouds casting shadows across distant hills. Those shadows move faster than any traveler, crossing valleys effortlessly, sliding over rivers, climbing mountains. The entire world feels in motion, not rushed, not chaotic, simply alive. Near midday, you cross a broad river. The water moves steadily beneath a wooden bridge. You pause near the center, looking down. The river reflects sunlight like liquid silver. Its current continues toward destinations unknown. You find yourself thinking about messages, how they resemble rivers, always moving, always carrying something forward. One person writes, another receives. Between them lies distance, and yet the words arrive, somehow. The road makes it possible. You continue across the bridge. The sound of water gradually fades behind you. Ahead, the landscape changes once more. Forests appear, dark green against the afternoon light. The road enters their shade. The transition feels immediate. Cooler air, softer sounds, the scent of pine and earth. The forest creates a different mood than the open plains, more intimate, more enclosed. Yet even here, the roads continue. Even here, travelers move. You encounter a caravan deep among the trees. Pack animals loaded with goods, travelers walking beside them. The entire procession moves steadily through the forest. You exchange greetings as you pass. For a few moments, the road feels crowded. Then the caravan disappears behind you. The forest becomes quiet once again. The encounter reminds you how many journeys are unfolding simultaneously. Thousands, perhaps tens of thousands. Some short, some long, some urgent, some leisurely, all moving across the same immense landscape. The scale becomes difficult to comprehend, and perhaps that is precisely the point. The empire cannot be understood from a single place. It reveals itself only through travel, only through movement, only through patience. Late in the afternoon, you emerge from the forest onto higher ground. The view ahead steals your attention. The land stretches outward in every direction. Rivers, fields, woodlands, distant hills fading into haze, roads threading through it all. The horizon feels impossibly far away. You stop the horse for a moment, not because you must, because the sight deserves your attention. A breeze moves gently across the landscape. The air smells of grass and sunlight. Far below, tiny figures travel roads almost invisible from this height. Perhaps another messenger rides among them. Perhaps several. each carrying words, each carrying responsibility, each participating in something larger than themselves. You smile quietly. The thought feels reassuring. No traveler crosses the empire alone, even when riding in solitude. The road itself provides companionship, the knowledge that others are moving too, the knowledge that stations await, the knowledge that messages continue flowing across the land, even beyond your sight. As evening approaches, the light softens. Golden colors spread across the world. The landscape glows. Every hill, every field, every distant road. The beauty feels almost overwhelming, not because it is dramatic, because it is vast. The sheer scale of the world becomes visible in moments like this. The horse continues forward. The road continues forward. And somewhere ahead, another station awaits. You reach it shortly before sunset. The familiar sequence unfolds. Arrival, greetings, fresh horses, warm food, the comfort of routine. Inside, travelers gather around the fire. The room hums with quiet conversation. You settle into a seat near the wall. The message rests beside you, still sealed, still mysterious. Yet somehow it feels different tonight. Not heavier, not lighter, simply part of a much larger story. You watch the travelers around you. Some arrived from the west, others from the east, some from mountains, others from plains, all connected by the same network of roads, the same system of movement, the same need to bridge distance. The fire crackles softly. Outside, stars begin appearing overhead. Inside, warmth fills the room. You lean back and close your eyes for a moment, thinking, reflecting, understanding. The empire is vast, far larger than any single person could fully comprehend. Yet every message helps connect one small part of it to another. Every rider contributes. Every station contributes. Every road contributes. And as the evening settles gently around you, you realize that the true wonder of the journey is not the distance itself. It is the invisible web of connections stretching across that distance. A web carried by horses, by travelers, by trust, and by messages moving steadily from one horizon to the next beneath the endless sky. The farther you travel, the more curious the message becomes. Not because you have seen it. You have not. Not because you know what it contains. You do not. The seal remains untouched. The words remain hidden. Yet after so many days upon the road, it is impossible not to think about it. The message has become a quiet companion, always present, always silent, always moving with you. You wake before dawn in another relay station. The room is still dark. Most travelers remain asleep. Only the fire is awake. A few red embers glow softly within the hearth. Outside, somewhere beyond the walls, a horse shifts its weight. The sound is gentle, rhythmic, comforting. For a moment, you remain still, listening. The journey has taught you to appreciate these quiet hours. The world feels different before sunrise, less hurried, less demanding, almost suspended. You reach toward the message, not to open it, simply to confirm it remains where it should be. It does, just as it always has. The familiar shape beneath your hand brings an odd sense of reassurance. Then you rise. Another day awaits. Outside, the eastern horizon begins to brighten. A faint silver glow appears beyond distant hills. The air feels cool, fresh, the kind of air that seems to wash yesterday away. You mount a fresh horse, offer a nod to the station keeper, and begin moving once again. The road stretches ahead. The rhythm returns. Hooves, breathing, wind, sky. The simplicity remains comforting. Travel strips life down to essentials: movement, food, rest, purpose. Everything else gradually falls away. As morning unfolds, your thoughts drift toward the people connected by messages. Not just this one. All messages. Every sealed packet carried across the roads. Every written word traveling through the empire. Some messages probably contain practical information. Supplies needed, arrivals expected, routes confirmed. Others may carry news, good news, sad news, unexpected news, the kind capable of changing a person's day or a person's life. Yet the messenger rarely knows, and perhaps that is part of the experience. You carry importance without fully understanding it. You participate in stories without seeing their endings. The thought follows you as sunlight spreads across the landscape. The road winds through open country, gentle hills rolling beneath a vast sky. A hawk circles high above. The horse moves steadily beneath you. The world feels calm. You imagine someone waiting somewhere far ahead. Perhaps they wake each morning wondering whether news will arrive. Perhaps they listen for hoofbeats. Perhaps they glance toward the road whenever a rider appears. Waiting is his own kind of journey, a quieter one, yet no less meaningful. The realization makes you think differently about the roads, not merely as pathways for travelers, but as pathways for anticipation, hope, concern, curiosity. Every message links two moments together, the moment it is written and the moment it is received. Everything in between belongs to people like you, people crossing rivers, climbing mountains, riding through storms, keeping words in motion. Near midday, you stop beside a stream. The water flows lazily through tall grass. Dragonflies hover above its surface. The horse drinks. You sit nearby beneath the shade of a tree. The stillness feels welcome. The journey has been long, not exhausting, but reflective. And reflection requires occasional pauses. You watch the water moving downstream, never stopping, never turning back, always continuing. Messages are much the same. Once written, they begin traveling toward their destination. The road becomes their river. The riders become their current. For several minutes, you simply observe. The stream, the breeze, the shifting sunlight. Then you rise and continue. The horse seems eager to move. Perhaps both of you understand that the journey itself is nearing completion. Not necessarily today, perhaps not tomorrow, but soon. You can feel it, the subtle change that arrives near the end of long travels, the awareness that each horizon may reveal the final stage, the awareness that every station now feels closer to the destination than the beginning. The road ahead grows shorter. The road behind grows longer. The balance has shifted. By afternoon, clouds gather overhead. Soft clouds, not threatening. Their shadows drift across fields and hills. The landscape becomes a patchwork of light and darkness. The sight reminds you of the people connected by the roads, each living within their own patch of sunlight, their own patch of shadow, their own concerns, their own hopes, yet somehow connected through communication. The roads make distance manageable, not by eliminating it, but by bridging it, one message at a time. Later you encounter another messenger. The meeting is brief, a greeting. A few exchanged observations. Then both riders continue. Yet after he disappears behind you, a thought remains. Every messenger carries hidden stories. Not their own, other people's. Lives unfolding beyond sight. Decisions waiting at distant destinations. Perhaps that is why messengers often seem thoughtful. They spend so much time surrounded by unseen possibilities. The road encourages imagination. You never know exactly what travels beside you. As evening approaches, the landscape glows beneath golden light. The horse's shadow stretches long across the earth. The air cools gently. A flock of birds crosses the horizon. Their formation shifts and reforms as they travel. The sight captures your attention. For a moment, they remind you of the empire itself. Many individuals, one direction, separate journeys connected by movement. The thought makes you smile. The road has a habit of finding lessons in simple things. A river, a bird, a cloud, a message. Everything becomes meaningful when observed long enough. Eventually, another relay station appears ahead, its lanterns already visible in the fading light. The familiar comfort returns. A destination for the evening. A pause before tomorrow's journey. You arrive shortly after sunset. The station is quieter than some, smaller too. The atmosphere feels peaceful, unhurried. You settle near the fire. A meal is served. Travelers speak softly. Outside, darkness spreads across the landscape. Inside, warmth fills the room. You find yourself studying the faces around you. A merchant, a shepherd, a traveler heading home, another beginning a new journey, each carrying something invisible. Memories, plans, responsibilities. Messages are not the only things moving across the empire. Human experiences travel too. Stories spread, ideas spread, relationships stretch across distance. The roads carry all of it. The fire crackles softly. Its light flickers across the room. You lean back and watch the flames, thinking about how fragile communication can seem. A few words written on paper, a small seal, a rider on horseback. And yet entire regions remain connected because those simple things continue moving. There is something beautiful about that, something deeply human. No matter how vast the landscape, no matter how great the distance, people still reach toward one another, still send words, still wait for replies, still seek connection. The road exists because that desire exists. Eventually, the room grows quieter. Travelers settle into sleep. The fire burns lower. Outside, stars appear above the station. Endless stars stretching across the night sky. You step outside briefly before resting. The air feels cool. The silence feels immense. Somewhere beyond the darkness, countless roads continue. Countless travelers continue. Countless messages continue. The realization fills you with peace. You are only one messenger, carrying only one message. Yet you are part of something much larger, a network of movement, of trust, of connection, a system that quietly links distant lives together across mountains, rivers, forests, deserts, and plains. You stand beneath the stars for a moment longer, then return inside. Tomorrow, another stretch of road awaits, another sunrise, another horizon, and with it, perhaps, the final chapter of this long and beautiful journey. The morning arrives quietly, no different from countless mornings before it. A pale horizon, cool air, the distant sound of horses awakening before the sun, the familiar scent of wood smoke drifting through stillness. For a few moments, you remain seated outside the relay station, watching dawn unfold, watching light slowly return to the world. The journey has lasted many days, many horses, many roads, many horizons, and now, somewhere ahead, the final destination waits. You do not know exactly what it will look like. You do not know who will receive the message. You do not know what words rest behind the seal. Those mysteries have accompanied you from the beginning. They remain with you now. Yet somehow they feel less important than they once did, because the journey itself has become the story. The road has changed you, not dramatically, not suddenly, in quieter ways, the kind of changes only long travel can create. You have learned patience from distance, endurance from weather, humility from landscapes, an appreciation from countless small moments scattered across the empire. The horse stands nearby, ready, another companion carrying you toward the end of the road. You rise. Check the message one final time. Still secure, still sealed, still waiting. Then you mount and begin riding. The morning unfolds gently around you. The road follows a broad valley. Mist lingers above fields. Streams catch the first light of day. Birds rise from tall grass. Everything feels calm, unhurried, as though the world itself understands that this journey deserves a peaceful ending. The horse moves steadily. The rhythm feels familiar now, almost comforting enough to disappear into the background. Hooves, breathing, wind. The sounds have accompanied you for so long that they feel woven into your thoughts. The road stretches ahead, yet your mind often drifts behind, toward places already crossed. The endless grasslands, the mountain passes, the rivers, the forests, the relay stations glowing warmly against the night. Each memory arrives softly, like pages turning in a well-loved book. You remember the first morning, the weight of responsibility settling onto your shoulders, the uncertainty, the anticipation, the feeling of staring toward an unfamiliar horizon. That horizon is behind you now. Many horizons are. And somehow that realization feels both satisfying and bittersweet, because every completed journey carries a small sadness. The road becomes familiar, then eventually it ends. By mid-morning the valley widens. Fields stretch across the landscape. Small settlements appear more frequently. Signs of life become increasingly common. Children playing beside streams, farmers working distant fields, smoke rising from chimneys. The roads feel busier here, not crowded, simply connected. The closer you move toward your destination, the more evident those connections become. Roads joining roads, paths joining paths, lives joining lives, everything woven together through movement. The message rests quietly at your side. Soon it will leave your care. Soon another chapter will begin for whoever receives it, and your role within that story will end. The thought surprises you. You expected relief. Instead, you feel something gentler, a quiet curiosity. You have carried this message across rivers and mountains, through storms and sunshine, across landscapes so vast they seemed endless. The message has become familiar, almost companion-like. Soon it will continue without you. That is the nature of all journeys. Nothing remains in our care forever. The road teaches that lesson repeatedly. Travelers meet, then separate. Stations welcome, then release. Messages arrive, then continue. Everything moves onward. Near midday, you stop beside a river. One final pause before completing the journey. The water flows steadily. Its surface reflects drifting clouds. You sit beneath a tree and listen. The sound feels familiar, not because this is the same river encountered earlier, because all rivers share something: movement, purpose, continuation. The road has much in common with rivers. Neither truly belongs to anyone. Both simply connect places and carry things forward. You close your eyes briefly, listening to water, listening to wind, listening to the distant sounds of birds. The moment feels peaceful, complete. When you finally rise and continue, the destination feels close, not visible yet, but close. You can sense it. The subtle feeling travelers know when the end approaches. The awareness that every mile now matters differently. The awareness that soon the journey will become memory. The afternoon passes beneath clear skies. The weather seems determined to offer a gentle farewell. Warm sunlight spreads across fields and hills. A light breeze moves through the grass. The horse appears comfortable, the road easy, the entire world seems settled. Then at last you see it, a settlement ahead, larger than many you have passed, buildings gathered beside a river, roads converging, people moving through streets, smoke rising into the afternoon sky. The destination, you slow slightly, not from uncertainty, from reflection. The journey has carried you here, 1 mile at a time, one station at a time, one sunrise at a time, and now the road has fulfilled its promise. You enter the settlement. The sounds feel different after so many days in open landscapes. Voices, footsteps, animals, movement, life gathered together. The roads have brought all of it here. Eventually, you arrive at the proper place. Officials receive the message. The seal is examined. Everything proceeds exactly as it should, carefully, respectfully, professionally. Then, after so many days, the message leaves your hands. Just like that. The journey is complete. The package disappears into another room, into another story, into another future. You never learn what it contained. You never discover what words traveled beside you all this time. And strangely, that feels right, because the message was never truly yours. You were its guardian, its traveler, its companion for a portion of the road. Nothing more, nothing less. Outside, the afternoon continues. People move through the settlement. Life unfolds. The world remains busy with its countless journeys. Yet for the first time in many days, you have nowhere immediate to ride. No next station, no next horizon, no next relay waiting ahead. The realization feels unusual, almost strange. You walk slowly through the settlement, observing, listening, breathing. The responsibility has lifted, and in its place comes reflection. You think about distance, how enormous it seemed at the beginning, how ordinary it eventually became. You think about duty, how heavy it felt at first, how natural it later became. You think about connection, how invisible it often is, and yet how essential. Most people will never know the roads you crossed, the mountains you climbed, the storms you endured, the relay stations where you rested. They will only know that the message arrived, and perhaps that is enough. The road does not seek recognition. It seeks completion. Evening gradually approaches. Golden light spreads across rooftops. Long shadows stretch across the streets. The day begins settling toward night. You find a quiet place overlooking the river. The water glows beneath the setting sun. Travelers continue crossing a nearby bridge. Merchants, families, messengers. The movement never stops. One journey ends, another begins. The empire continues breathing through its roads. The river continues flowing. The world continues turning. You sit quietly and watch. The air feels warm. The breeze feels gentle. The sky slowly shifts from gold to orange, then from orange to deep blue. The first stars begin appearing overhead, just as they did on your first night up on the road. The same stars, the same sky. Watching over travelers then, watching over travelers now. And beneath those stars, a final thought settles peacefully into your mind. Messages matter, words matter, connections matter, yet they are all fleeting. A message arrives, it is read, its purpose fulfilled. Then it becomes memory. The roads remain, the rivers remain, the mountains remain, and still new messages begin their journeys, again and again, across generations, across landscapes, across time. You watch the stars appear one by one, the river flowing quietly below, the settlement glowing softly in evening light, the road disappearing into darkness beyond the horizon. And somewhere out there, another rider is already beginning a journey. Another horse is already moving. Another sealed message is already traveling toward a distant destination. The cycle continues, endlessly, beautifully, quietly, just as it always has, just as it always will.